All right, so here we are. So, Michael, how do you pronounce your company name?
Sniply.
Sniply, that's awesome. Well, it's good to have you here. I know I think I signed up for your service. I tested it out. I liked it, and I thought, hey, let's chat. So tell us what you guys do.
So Sniply started out as a small idea. I spent a lot of time curating and sharing content until eventually I realized, what kind of ROI do I get for sharing links, sharing other people's content essentially? What benefit does it do me, even though I spent all that time picking and choosing the right things to share? And what we really wanted to introduce to the world of marketing was a conversion opportunity for people to actually get an ROI from the act of content sharing and content curation. And we decided very early on that in order for that to be possible at all, that while sharing other people's content you can still derive benefit, there has to be a conversion opportunity. So at Sniply, we've built the software that anyone can easily add their own call to action onto the content that they share over a small, unintrusive overlay, so that if I share an article to New York Times, for example, I can still add a link that says, hey, while you're checking out this article, also come check out my app or come check out my blog post on a similar subject. Click here to learn more. And that's the gist of what we do. Of course, since the beginning, we've expanded a lot on analytics and integrations and whatnot, but that is the core idea of Sniply.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I tried it out with our service. We have two brands. We have a social media or digital best practices for brands, and then we also have this new kids program, which is blowing up, which teaches kids how to shine online, and we're always sharing best practices. I've got a few monitors I'm looking at here, so if you see me look to the right, I'm looking at your website. But I really liked it because we can share social media safety best practices for kids, or parents, I guess you'd say.
Right.
A lot of cyberbullying apps out there these days, so we're always finding best practices on which ones are good and bad. And I liked how your little thing said, hey, this is basically brought to you by, or here's Josh's link that we're giving you, and you can click through it. Teach us, you have a back-end system with this as well. This isn't just a sharing with a call to action. You have some analytics. Is that right?
Right. So what we found is extremely important is we actually add an additional layer onto analytics. You don't get this stuff on Google Analytics or anything out there because it's really an insight into shared content. That's traditionally is exclusively available to the original content owners, but now with Sniply, you can get insights into average duration on page, which shows you the content that you're sharing. Are they actually engaging? Are people actually spending time there? What's the bounce rates? On software like, or even built-in Twitter analytics, you can see how many people click on your links, but you don't know the bounce rate. You don't know how quickly they're leaving. You don't know if they're visiting more pages afterwards, browsing around after clicking through your link. So a Sniply session, within that session, you can actually, as a content sharer, get insights onto what people are doing with the content that you share, which of course then feeds back into your decisions when you choose, okay, well, what type of content do my audience respond better to? And that's all on top of the call to action and the conversion opportunity, which is of course important as well. You've got the clicks and you want to know the conversions too. 10 million people clicked on my link to a BuzzFeed list that went very viral, but how many of those people actually came back to check out my website or my app or my white paper? And that's the analytics component of what we do.
So why don't you give us a couple tactical tips that we as marketers, and I don't care what business is watching this right now, you could be in the education space trying to market your school, your private school, public school, communicate with parents, or you could be a laundromat trying to get more people to come in and bring you laundry. It doesn't matter. It's all over the board. What tactical tip do you have when we're sharing resources with people, either on Twitter or Facebook or anything else? Do you have any tactical tips that you see as best practices when using your technology or not?
Right. I think relevance is absolutely important, and it's kind of interesting because just normally, when you share content, it's always already relevant to what you do. And that also ties into the call to action as well. When you share an article, let's say it's about cyberbullying. People are reading about cyberbullying. They care about the subject. They actually want to learn more and take action. Well, that's when you want your call to action to be relevant and say, hey, you want to learn more about cyberbullying, or you want to take action and contribute to prevent cyberbullying in the future, well, click here to learn more about what we do, or click here to download this app in support of the anti-cyberbullying movement. And to us, call to action is all about, number one, relevance, and number two, time sensitivity. After someone reads the content, a lot of people want to do something about what they just read, but normally, without a clear call to action, without a clear direction, they move on, they read something else, they may forget it. But at that moment, you want to be very clear what you want the audience to do. And everybody's read articles before, and within an article there are tons of links, and there's not oftentimes a clear call to action of what you actually want people to do. And so it's important that the call to action is short, concise, precise, clear, and relevance, I think, is above all the most important. You don't want to share a cyberbullying article and then the call to action is to book a vacation in Honolulu, because there's a mismatch there, and those type of call to actions don't get a lot of conversions.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So you're teaching us two things. I like this. Number one, a good call to action has relevance. I would call it the right message, and then number two, at the right time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. Your technology works with over 30 different apps. Talk to us about how there's a lot of startups that are out there, right? And they always have an idea. Sounds like you're doing pretty well. You have a bunch of integrations. What's it like to integrate with a bunch of different stuff with their APIs? Is that a really difficult thing to do?
We actually do a lot of integrations through the browser. So what we do specifically is a lot of sharing is done within the browser environment. A lot of these apps that we integrate with work with browsers. So we have Chrome extensions, Firefox extensions, Safari plugins, and that makes it really easy for us to plug and play. And the reason why integration is important for us is no marketer wants to add another tool into their toolkit. You have your buffer, you have your Hootsuite, you schedule everything. You don't want to then take all your links to Sniply. And the integration idea is that directly within Hootsuite or within Sprout Social, whatever you use, you can insert call to actions into the links that you share without ever having to leave those platforms.
And I'm showing people right now, I'm going to share with them my screen and they can see all your integrations. I'm going to go real slow, but you've got Buffer and Hootsuite being some pretty darn big ones, and then we've got some Facebook and Twitter. It's great. Also have LinkedIn, Pinterest. These are the biggest networks that I've heard of. Talk to us about the MailChimp integration. How does that work?
So there's many different types of snips, one of which is the button, which is the most commonly seen, but you can actually add forms. So you can overlay a message that is actually an input form that's the user can type something in, oftentimes their email address, and click submit. So a use case, an example of this is, if you like this type of content, we share this stuff all the time. Subscribe to us, and we'll send you a newsletter, or we'll give you more where that comes from. And of course, MailChimp integration allows it so that when a visitor submits their email address, it then plugs straight into your MailChimp mailing list. And that's the same with Uber and GetResponse and some of those other mailing integrations.
This is great. You've got all kinds of integrations here. I really like it. One of my favorite things is just to go around the web and study who's integrating with other people. I noticed you're doing a really good job integrating with Zapier, which those of you that are watching this video that don't know, that's a pretty sweet service that connects a lot of different things, and also IFT being kind of the grandfather of if this, then that, right?
I think those were really important directions for us to go to, because essentially what they do is open up unlimited possibilities. And we can work on 30 integrations, and that takes a lot of time for us to build each integration. But the moment we plug into something like Zapier or this and that, well, that immediately opens up to another 200 different integrations and possibilities. And it's also great for people who are a bit more technically well-versed, who know how to build Zapier connections and app connectivities and stuff like that. And those have made a big difference. Most of the most creative usages comes from those two integrations.
Yeah, those of you watching this, if you haven't been to Zapier.com, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, this is really great. Hey, so give us one more tactical tip, and then I want to tell people how they can learn more about your technology. Do you have any other tactical tips for marketers that want to? First, you taught us about call to action must be relevant, and then it also must be time sensitive. The right message at the right time, which I love. Do you have anything else that people get wrong often that you're always telling them?
Yeah, I think having the message change is very important, because you're sharing content all the time. And if the call to action is the same, it becomes stagnated, it becomes boring and bland. And a part of the right message at the right time means that it needs to be refreshed and updated, because the right message today may not be the same as the right message tomorrow. And I think one of the most common mistakes is somebody would pick the one-liner, the slogan or tagline for their company, and that's it. That's all they use for months on end. But good marketers, smart marketers know how to adapt the message to current events, what's currently happening. Cyberbullying, things are happening in that realm all the time. Right, there's a
Yeah.
time-sensitive issue on the news, and those are the type of things that you want to capture and captivate and really leverage. Not just picking a slogan and go and run with it. It's the same mentality you apply to any area of marketing. You don't tweet the same tweet every day. You don't write the same Google ad message years after years after years. And so I think the underlying message I'm trying to communicate is most marketers already know how to use Sniply. It's the same thing you do on every other platform you've done before, and Sniply is just an opportunity for you to apply what you already know in a new area that you've never done, that you've never had the access to before. And so, right message, right time, keeping it fresh. Those are all marketing basics that I think a lot of marketers already know about. It's just a matter of applying it to a new technology.
So, Michael, we can learn more about you by visiting snip.ly. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Or also email me anytime. My team and I are always open to answer questions. We're just a team at snip.ly, so TEAM at snip.ly.
And I like how accessible you are. I just replied to one of your emails, and that's how we're chatting here today.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, hey, thank you so much. Let's review the right message, the right time. And you also said having the message change. And basically, if I were to talk about that even more, it'd be because then you can test the best copy that works.
Yeah.
See, everybody that's watching this right now, you know your business inside and out, but I call it being in the bubble where you talk to yourself every day and it makes sense, but your customer usually does not know what the heck you mean. And so by testing, as Mike is saying, testing different messages, you are eventually finding out what resonates with the customer better, which I love. Most marketers already know how to use this. I love that. Hey, I want to thank you, Mike, for being on the video today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks so much. Those of you watching this, you can learn more at MediaLeaders.com. You can subscribe to this video where we have videos every week, every month. MediaLeaders.com. Thanks. I'm Josh Oakes. As always, keep it light, bright, and polite. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Thank you, everyone.